Crane is hanging from a luxury skyscraper. Condos is what they're building. It's under construction on 57th Street at 7th Avenue. The evacuees are being brought to local shelters.
And there are hundreds of them. Many local bridges and tunnels are closed at this hour because of the high winds and rain, and that includes the 4 East River crossings. Jersey City now has a curfew in place until 1 p.m. tomorrow. New York City schools will be closed again tomorrow. And if you are looking for Wheel and Jeopardy, it is now being shown on our digital channels. You can find the channel listing crawls at the bottom of your screen.
We have our entire Eyewitness News team covering this storm tonight and through the night. We'll get to them in just a minute. Our reporters out in the field. But we want to start with meteorologist Lee Goldberg and his weather team. They are tracking Hurricane Sandy with the latest. Lee.
Well, Bill, as it's all coming to a head now, I mean, Sandy's just putting everything onto the tri-state area. Look at the wind rocking the camera on the west side. We've got wind gusts now topping 90 miles an hour in the east end of Long Island. Just remarkable right now. 77-mile-per-hour wind gusts at Islip. That was at 82. And you can also see how the winds that were more northeast are more easterly, giving you an idea. It has moved ashore here in southern New Jersey, and the winds are going to continue to shift. But at this point, it's not like they're shifting away from the ocean. They're still pulling all that water in as we move toward the high tide. Some of the highest wind gusts in the Hudson Valley happening. Newburgh at 58 miles per hour. Here's the storm right now. Core right here, right on top of us. And at this point, I mean, some of these heavy rain bands to the north are producing some just ferocious winds. Now, the storm, it was racing toward shore at about 28 miles an hour. It certainly has slowed a little bit. What's happening is that merger with the storm out in the middle of the country, that front that has moved to the east coast, that whole merger is complete. So now the two are sort of as one and working together just so efficiently that they're creating this even more extreme powerhouse over the area. The good news is that nasty line of showers that was sitting over Cape May has finally started to budge a little westward, giving me the idea that it's at least moving a little bit. But look at how the whole center of circulation is almost reformed right over New Jersey, where there's almost void of rainfall, but there's still plenty of wind, especially just north. And that's right in New York Harbor in northern New Jersey, you know, anywhere from Sussex to West Milford down to Alpine. And then you see all the heavy rain over Nassau County here. And then the Hudson Valley taking it on the chin. Some of the strongest winds knocking down trees in some places that were able to maintain power for much of the day, now losing power, especially over parts of Dutchess County, where that's going to go toward Pine Plains. Some very heavy rainfall there, transferring some very powerful winds from the upper atmosphere down at about 80-mile-per-hour winds. You can see the whole storm here. We still have to get about 250, 270 miles, you know, on this side of the storm before things start to improve. That's going to take several hours. So we now are in the peak of the storm, the worst part of the storm. We're still waiting for, there it is. The intermediate advisory came in, winds of 85 miles per hour. They're now indicating it's an extratropical storm. So I'll go and read the advisory while I send it over to Jeff Smith, who's going to talk a little bit more about the surge, and I'll go check out what the advisory says about the actual landfall.
Yeah, Lee, just looking at the track on the advisory they showed, it almost looked like it took a little bit of a jog to the north. Maybe that extratropical transition is happening, and it's developing almost a secondary eye wall or wind maximum, and that happens to be right over the tri-state area. And the wind reports that we're getting right now are staggering. Over 90 miles per hour on parts of Long Island. Had a wind gust officially at Islip Airport of over 80 miles per hour. And of course, this is piling water onshore in the areas that we have to watch most carefully. Jersey Shore, Raritan Bay, where the water really funnels in here. And also, of course, Lower Manhattan. You heard that almost chilling phone call from Kimberly Richardson in Lower Manhattan, how they had to move up in street numbers because the streets were starting to flood down there and turn into literally rivers. So we're watching the Battery. We're watching that barrier over top, and that will break the record that was set back in Hurricane Donna back in 1960. The storm surge, 6 to 12 feet for tonight's high tide. On top of that, on the ocean side, you get 15 to 20-foot breaking waves. Yeah, that can cause a lot of damage to coastal structures. 5 to 10-foot waves on Long Island Sound. It's really a life-threatening scenario right now, and you'll get severe beach erosion, and you'll see the signs of that for years to come. The beaches will be shaped permanently in some cases by this. Battery, 8:53 p.m. Now, you heard Kimberly Richardson. They're already getting major flooding down there, it looks like, in the lower portion of Manhattan. And high tide is still more than an hour and a half away, expecting a record flood if it hasn't gotten there already. Jamaica Bay, 9 p.m., major flooding expected there. Kings Point and Stamford. Now, it's a little bit delayed on western Long Island Sound, but we're looking for major flooding nonetheless in that area around midnight tonight. That's where you're really going to watch out. That includes the the southern parts of Westchester County, right near Mamaroneck. Sandy Hook, New Jersey, as of 2 hours ago, we already broke the record that was set in Sandy Hook, New Jersey. I believe it was over 100 years ago. 8:22 p.m., a high tide there. Seaside Heights, New Jersey, 7:52. Here's some storm reports. An 81-mile-per-hour wind gust coming in at 6 p.m. East Moriches on Long Island. Look at this. We have a gas station at the intersection of 14th Street and Straight Path on fire in Babylon due to wind damage in that area. Probably a tree blew into some type of gas line, I can only surmise, in that type of situation. Eaton's Neck, again, a 94-mile-per-hour gust. So, Lee, like you said, this storm coming to a head right now in a
Jeff,
big way.
Yes, you're right. In that intermediate advisory, they're saying it is still just east of Cape May, almost in the exact location of the 5 p.m. advisory, so that it has not exactly made landfall. A little curious, 85-mile-per-hour winds. It is designated as an extratropical storm, so we'll get a little bit more into that. That's not important right now. The most important thing is that we're heading toward a record surge, which, by the way, at the battery, looks like the surge is already 7 feet, and we're still almost 2 hours from the actual high tide at 8:53. That's going to be a record surge, and water's headed for the subway system. We have a safety issue, though. I want to get back to Bill and Liz on that.
Okay, yeah, we're talking about power, no power down in Lower Manhattan, Lee. Power, so many of you have emailed us. Some of you have power, many of you do. Many of you do not have power in Lower Manhattan because of those pops that Kimberly Richardson was talking about.
Right. We do also want to get right out to Jen Maxfield. She is in Lodi. Jen, we know that you're also having a hard time hearing us. Your cameraman is going to cue you. So go ahead and tell us what the latest is from there.
That's right. I can hear you. And of course, we are here on Main Street in Lodi. The scene behind me here is this tree that was down that we were talking about before between avenues B and C here in Lodi. But the situation has changed dramatically just in the last 10 minutes. The sky is just lighting up with red and blue, and at first we thought perhaps it was lightning. No, then we realized it was in fact transformers that are just exploding in this area. The transformers sparking and causing all these different colors throughout the night sky here in Lodi. I understand Chris Olson wrote to me on Facebook and said that on the other side of 46, in fact, power is out here in Lodi, though I will tell you, if you take a look up here to the apartment building, you can see the lights are in fact still on. So we do know that the people here on this section of Main Street in Lodi do still have power. We're going to go to some video now that we shot earlier today elsewhere in Bergen County. Some trees down also in River Edge, where the Hastings home was hit by a tree, and in fact they have a hole in their roof now, hoping that the rain won't get in there tonight. And then over in Oradell, there was also a tree down, that one narrowly missing a house. Take a listen at what residents had to say about all this.
I was just coming home and I parked the car in the driveway and I heard a crack and I thought something hit the car, and I turned around and I saw the tree coming down.
What was your concern with this tree?
That it would fall down on my house.
And in fact?
And in fact, it fell down on my house.
Now you're laughing about it. You seem to be taking it in stride. What's going through your head?
Not really. I'm very upset about it, but what can you do? Nothing. Stay safe.
And taking a live look again here from Lodi. This is the headquarters of the National Transfer Company. When the people left here today, they were nice enough to close up these large 15-foot chain metal fence gates. An hour after they left, those gates just blew right open. And in fact, someone driving in there right now, maybe they're here to fix it. Ooh, I don't think they saw that gate there. In any case, the gate, though, was making a situation where it could have been dangerous, where it could have blown around. So John Spry, the photographer who I'm working with today, was nice enough to actually knock it off of a very precarious spot there. You can see a car pulling into the driveway right now. Perhaps this is someone here to fix the situation. But again, we are actually going to move from this location here in Lodi. The wind gusts just getting too strong, too dramatic, and we're concerned about debris flying around. So we're going to go somewhere else here in Bergen County to cover the power outages, where we have a little more protection. Back to you in the studio.
Okay,
right.
Jen. Good.
You mentioned power outages. We are also looking into them, and unfortunately the number has skyrocketed. We want to go ahead and show you the latest right now about where those power outages are. Do we have that? There we go. In New Jersey, more than 500,000 people, 573,000 Long Island, 525,000 New York, 126,000, and in Connecticut, more than 334,000 people.
Customers.
Oh, customers, I should say. You're right, not people. Customers without power.
It's about if my math is right, about 1.6 million customers. That could be up to 3 to 4 million people, maybe more, depending on how many people. If you should lose power, if you want to continue to watch our coverage, because we're here to try to help you make decisions about how to keep your family safe through all this, you can do it. We're streaming all of this live as it happens. You can get it on your iPhone or your tablet, or on 7 Online if you have a laptop that has power. I beg you not to use candles. And I know a lot of people like them. It's the only source of light for some people, but it is so very dangerous.
Right. We're also on the radio, too, that we also want to say 98.7 and also Deportes 1050. So we're providing a simulcast of our continuing coverage. We want to get right out to Lucy Yang. She is in Hoboken. And, Lucy, there is significant flooding there right now.
Well, Liz, we moved to Jersey City. I'm on Green Street in Jersey City. Behind me is Columbus Drive. And what you're looking at here is the Hudson River invading Jersey City. We are 2 blocks away from the riverfront, and you can see the Hudson pouring down the street. In the time that Jen Maxfield was live, I had to take probably 6 steps forward to keep ahead of the water coming in. We don't know how far it'll go tonight, how deep it'll go, but we keep getting pushed forward to stay ahead of this water surge. You can see it coming down the street. You can see the current moving at a very good clip here. All the lights are out in this area of Jersey City here in downtown Jersey City on Green Street. That is Columbus Drive behind me, where you see the heavy current of the Hudson River coming in. There are numerous streetlight issues. I have to say, in driving around Jersey City tonight, it was mostly emergency vehicles, fire trucks, police, ambulances, just in case, and us looking for what is happening in the city. And on the streets, in this kind of situation where there are severe wind tunnels by these high rises, you have to listen as well as look, because when you hear something crash, you need to duck, move, dive, get out of the way, because things are flying. Trees are bending. Lights are coming down. Signs have certainly been coming down all over the place. But again, what we wanted to show you here tonight is the flooding. Direct flooding from the Hudson River. Again, we're 2 blocks away from the waterfront, and this is what it looks like here. We're live in Jersey City. I'm Lucy Yang for Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Lucy, I got to say, it is remarkable to see that water rushing in behind you and how fast and how furious it is coming.
Absolutely, Liz. It is not trickling in, I can tell you that. It is a very serious movement of water coming into Jersey City here.
All right, and Lee Goldberg, who can do a lot of things, can't really walk on water, although it appears to, in your live shot in the green screen, he did. Lucy, tell me again, how long you plan to stay there, and what it looks like, what direction it looks like it's coming?
Bill, are you talking to me?
I am. Tell me what direction that water is coming from.
One more time, please.
What direction is that water coming from? Towards you, right?
What direction is it coming from?
I can't hear Bill.
Okay.
Okay, it's coming. Okay, you're looking at Columbus Drive. This is coming from the Hudson River into Jersey City, heading west into town. Now, there are garages back there, I know. I pray the cars in the basement level are surviving this. I wouldn't venture a bet on how well they're doing tonight. There are some residential buildings. It's primarily commercial here. So most of the people, I would say all the people, are gone from the commercial buildings. There shouldn't be anybody in those buildings at this hour.
Okay.
All right. Lucy,
Thanks, Lucy.
Thanks so much. We are going to head from Jersey City now to Long Beach on Long Island, where NJ Burkett is. And NJ, we see that you are inside now. NJ, can you hear us?
Okay, I think you guys are talking to me now from Manhattan. It's very, very difficult to hear. All of the utility service is marginal at best right now. It's amazing we even have any lights. Right now, this is the safest place that we can be, the 3rd floor of the Allegoria Hotel, and I'm going to show you why. We're going to take a look out our window, 3rd floor window, and you can see what's happened now is the ocean is flowing now, roaring beneath the boardwalk, and it's popping up through the cracks in the boardwalk and actually blowing up the planks in the boardwalk. The boardwalk is getting trashed from underneath. Every so often, you get a pounding surf that comes up. You can see that happening now. The lifeguard station that was washed away is now half a mile down the beach west, and is being beaten to pieces by the surf. I want you to now look further down and see what's going on National Boulevard. And if John Lyles can peek out the window here to get a look, it's now flowing. The ocean is flowing. I am convinced it's going as far down into the center of town as you can see. It's an extraordinary scene here in Long Beach, and I spoke to the Long Beach city manager a short time ago, and he said that this is by far their worst case scenario. This is the worst that they had, the worst that they could have imagined for the city, because now, as you can see, just this area here alone is under 5 feet of water. You can see an apartment building that's across the way from us here. That building of, I believe, candles and flashlights. So the area is now getting washed over. You can see the damage is being done to the boardwalk. You can see the planks that have been popped up. I have just lost my communication with you guys, unfortunately, and I cannot hear any questions from the anchor people. And I apologize for that, but it's just a measure of how difficult it's been here in terms of the utilities and in terms of just trying to keep things up and running. I want to back out now from the window, and I want to walk over here, and I'm going to open this other window, and hang on, and I want to show you the ocean. The Atlantic Ocean now that is pouring into the city of Long Beach. The surf has now, I believe we are just past peak high tide, and the surf is now roaring in and blasting the boardwalk. I am told now that we are essentially an island here to ourselves. You cannot get off the boardwalk at this point, and you can't leave the hotel. So that's the situation right now, and I have to apologize because I've lost my communication with the control room. I've lost my communication with you guys. As soon as we get it back up and running, I will be back and I'll be able to answer some of your questions. But that's the situation as it stands at the moment here in Long Beach. Again, as the city manager said, the worst case scenario now unfolding here on the South Shore of Long Island. Back to you.
Okay, NJ Burkett, no need to apologize. You can't hear us, but you've done a great job, and everyone believes that as the water just pours ashore there on Long Beach. We're going to go to Jeff Pegues, who is in the Rockaways, and I know you can hear me, Jeff. Tell me what's going on there.
Yeah, Bill, I'm in Rockaway Park. The situation here is not good at all. In the last couple of hours, really, we've had to go to higher ground, and we're having a hard time finding it here, to be quite honest, because there is water in just about every direction. To my left, there are flooded streets. To my right, there are flooded streets as well. In fact, we can't go any further out here because we don't have enough cable. But there's a fire engine that can't even go down this street. It's backing up right now. There's just so much water, and here's what's happening. Water is coming into Rockaway Park from both directions, from Jamaica Bay and from the Atlantic Ocean. So this water that you see here, this is flowing from the Atlantic Ocean, and so that's why you have flooding on all these streets. And these firefighters were telling me that they can't get down these streets, and they're telling us that we have to get out of this area as well, because right now the water is coming up too high. And here's the thing, it's not even high tide yet. That we're expecting at about 8, 9 o'clock. So it's not even high tide yet, and already many of these streets in this area are flooded, and there is a lot of debris floating around in this water as well. You see them, they are rescue crews here. They're trying to go through these neighborhoods to make sure that no one is in danger. And as I said, even they are having a difficult time with that. As many of you know, this is why city officials wanted people to evacuate this area. This is Zone 4, one of the flood-prone areas in the city. And that's why yesterday the call went out for people to evacuate this area. And this is why. You see all the water. Back to you in the studio.
foam, Jeff, is just sort of just spectacular is the only word I can use to describe it. And there is all sorts of debris in there, and who knows what's in this water, right? We did lose Jeff. He was in Rockaway Park, which is in Queens, and you could see the water merging from Jamaica Bay and the Atlantic Ocean, and even that fire truck having a difficult time. We are hearing from so many of you who have lost power throughout the tri-state. We're trying to get on this and get as much information as we possibly can. We do know there has been some sort of power outage with perhaps transformers exploding in lower Manhattan. You have some numbers on this, right?
Yeah, and according to the Office of Emergency Management at Con Ed's Bowling Green network, which serves the area around Wall Street to the tip of Manhattan, that is now out of service. We understand the OEM is also reporting that the Fulton network is now down as well. This is in the Seaport area, which is where Eyewitness News reporter Kimberly Richardson was when she was hearing some loud explosions. But we understand that power in that area is right now no more. We're trying to find some more information about this, but this is exactly the situation that Con Ed did not want.
Okay, from the power situation in Lower Manhattan, we're going to head up north to Fairfield, Connecticut, where Joe Torres has been there for us all night. And Joe, I understand you saw a rescue in progress earlier tonight.
Yeah, Bill and Liz, in fact, it was just within the last half hour. You can still see the last ambulance is just pulling out here. This all happened 30 minutes ago. Breaking news. I can still see the fire trucks. They just pulled out momentarily, as well as some police. Let's show you the video that we took just a few minutes ago. We are on Duck Farm Road in Fairfield. Police and fire, as well as emergency crews, responded to the scene here. And what happened, a woman was driving her car, and a firefighter told me that as she was going down Duck Farm Road, a limb came down on her car. She lost control of the vehicle. It careened into a fence and pinned her inside the vehicle. She could not get out. Well, that prompted a quick response from the authorities here. They got here, broke out the saws, and immediately started cutting out the fence around the car. They got to the woman quickly, removed her, put her in an ambulance. She is now on her way to a hospital in Bridgeport. They tell us it looks like she's going to be okay. Very shaken up, but you can imagine the limb literally fell on the car as she was driving. This here, a clear example of why authorities in this neck of the woods and throughout the area do not want you on the roads. On the way to get here, we saw many trees down. In fact, I'm going to show you. Can you see this one here? There's a huge tree that came down right above us, and when we arrived, the firefighters kept telling us, guys, be safe, look up, because trees are coming down, and one came down right as this woman was driving by. Off in the distance, the yellow tape remains. If you don't have to be out, and we can't see any reason why you need to be, stay home, because things like this can happen. Thankfully, Bill and Liz, it looks like this lady is going to be okay. We're live in Fairfield, Connecticut. I'm Joe Torres, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
We are getting, Joe, so many reports of downed trees and power outages. It is dangerous out there, and just stay inside your home. We'll try to get you as much information as possible.
Yeah, we want to head back over to Lee Goldberg. And Lee, we are really starting to see the surge come up now, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing numbers that are just outrageous here. I just want to pass a couple of things along to you. The Battery tide level, 11.25 feet. That breaks the all-time of 11.2 set back in 1821. It's 1 foot higher than Hurricane Donna in 1960. There are 2.2 million people without power in 11 states. There's record flooding now at Sandy Hook. I mean, think about that, 1821. So nearly a 200-year storm. Look at what the wind is doing to the camera on the Upper West Side here. Getting our peak wind gusts of the storm, our worst conditions since the storm made landfall here, or is about to make landfall in South Jersey. There's definitely a little bit of discussion going on here with the Hurricane Center as to if it's already on land. They say that they're still going to wait for a landfall statement, so we'll be waiting for that. But basically, the idea is this storm is over South Jersey right now, and you can see the wind gusts of 64 miles an hour at Islip. That was up to 82 last hour. 55 miles per hour in Wrightstown, Hudson Valley, nearly 60. There's the storm. We're right smack dab in the middle. And the problem now is that, you know, the Hurricane Center is starting to say it's making its transition from hurricane to what we call post-tropical or extratropical storm, becoming more of a nor'easter type storm. The problem with that is that now it can remain strong without worrying about the normal fuel for a tropical tropical system, the Atlantic waters, or being a warm core system. It's using the front and all the energy and the jet stream energy off to the west to maintain itself. So it's going to be very resilient. So we have a rough 6 hours ahead. And this particular band of rainfall coming into Long Island, New York City, northern New Jersey, and Hudson Valley, lots of strong winds here, and power is just going out everywhere across the area. Trees are getting knocked down. These bands are particularly heavy over Ulster and Dutchess County. Again, you can see the center itself. And when I talk about it interacting with that system off to the west, do you notice how the center circulation was kind of wide for a bit, and look at how it's contracting a little bit, almost like it's showing signs of strengthening as it tries to move inland. So, I mean, this is just going to continue to be devastating as we approach high tide. We have the all-time record here in the Battery, and we're still an hour and a half away from the high tide. Jeff Smith's going to talk about this surge. Jeff, can you believe those numbers? This is the first time you're hearing it.
Yeah, it is. You mentioned 1821. And I believe that was a storm that flooded all the way up to what was Canal Street, what would have been Canal Street.
Okay.
I'm sure they've built it up since then, right, with fill. But we're talking about a legendary storm, like you were saying. And Lee, I just wanted to point out, I mean, this band that you're talking about, it's almost like at the same time, the core of the system spread out a little bit, and it spread out the wind field. We've had some of our highest winds being recorded up in parts of Massachusetts. We had over an 80-mile-per-hour wind gust at Westport, Mass, not too far from Cape Cod. The storm surge just going to be massive with this, though. Storm surge of 6 to 12 feet for tonight's high tide. And the high tide isn't even here yet. And we're already smashing record levels at Sandy Hook and at the Battery. 15 to 20-foot waves along the ocean front, 5 to 10-foot waves on Long Island Sound. You saw NJ Burkett, the waves just crashing over there at Long Beach and causing probably quite a bit of structural damage there. It's a life-threatening situation, and we're going to get severe erosion. And like I was saying, this will change the landscape of the beaches around here permanently. In some cases. That Battery high tide, and this is just incredible what Lee is saying about the record already being broken from 1821. We still have almost an hour and a half until high tide. So it's just smashing that record. Jamaica Bay, 9 p.m., major flooding. Kings Point and Stamford, and Lee, you told me Kings Point already had a 12-foot tide. That's correct, 12-foot level there already. And they don't have a high tide until just after midnight. These two locations, by the way, of course, on western Long Island Sound, it takes a little bit longer for the high tide to reach there. But around midnight, expect record-breaking flooding. Sandy Hook, New Jersey, already broke a record there. 8:22 p.m. is your high tide. Seaside Heights, 7:52 p.m. So hopefully everyone evacuated those areas. East Mauritius got an 81-mile-per-hour wind gust as of 6 p.m. And these are all just coming in as we go along here. We're going to be getting many more storm reports before this is all said and done. Got a gas station on fire in Babylon, apparently due to wind damage. That's what they're saying there. A fence destroyed on Lerting Avenue in the Bronx. 710, we got some wind damage to a roof in the Kearney area, just west of the city, not too far from Newark. And also Eaton's Neck, Long Island, 94-mile-per-hour wind gust as of 6:10, and we have trees down in the Greenwich area. So very far away from the center of where the storm made landfall, we're getting these wind gusts. And also, I wanted to show you guys something. The wind tunnel effect that we're seeing here in the city is amazing. I saw one of the highest wind gusts I've ever seen coming right down 67th Street a little while ago. What's happening is the wind is coming in between the buildings and being funneled. That can add 40 miles per hour to whatever wind is going on already. So if you're getting a 40-mile-per-hour wind, it can potentially be upwards of 80 miles per hour between the buildings, especially if there's a very narrow space between them. Lee?
Jeff, I'm just looking at some of the questions from our viewers. They're seeing flashes in the air. They're asking me if it's lightning. Just looking on our lightning detection, we're not seeing that, so that's just power flashes, transformers, power loss imminent. That's what you're seeing there with this. And folks calling in from Staten Island, there's a lot of flooding in Raritan Bay. I mean, a lot of low-lying areas like Midland Beach and south of Highland Ave. I mean, that's going to pour in. Places like Union Beach. You've sent me pictures today of already some flooding there, and over to Morgan. There's going to be lots of flooding through that area as we go through the evening hours. And I just want to clarify, Jeff, it was a 12-foot surge already at Kings Point.
It was a surge?
That's a surge, yes.
Wow.
12-foot surge.
Okay.
So already reaching the upper end we were talking about. So, you know, that could go, maybe that goes up to 13, 14, 15 feet. Now, at the Battery, the surge was up to 7 foot. And if you remember with Irene, we were looking at just below 9 because it stayed right below the seawall there. So we're already way above Irene. And unfortunately, it just looks like there's no no way we're going to be able to keep water out of the subway system. So the high tide cycle getting going over the next hour, the rain and wind overnight. Again, because I see this interaction happening in this slowing and late strengthening, I think we're going to have to hold on to this brunt that goes through the next 6 hours or so, and then the high tide cycle again will come in Tuesday morning, and we'll have to go through this all over again, but the winds will be tapering down a little bit. I mean, winds at 50 miles an hour gusts is still nothing to sneeze at, but definitely coming off the peak. But boy, these are going to be a rough 6 hours. Bill, Liz, back to you.
The low tide that's hit about 1 o'clock, between 1 and 2 in the morning, it's going to be an ineffectual low tide, right?
Right. I mean, water's not going to be able to escape at that point.
Right. So the next real effectual low tide is going to be like at noon.
Correct.
Basically.
Yeah, early afternoon tomorrow.
So we're in for another 15 hours of some of the surge that we're still going to feel it. All right, Lee and Jeff, great job as always. Keep us posted, and we'll go back to you, of course. But tell us if anything breaks that we need to know about.
Of course. All right.
We're going to start. We have lots of things to catch you up on while Jeff and Lee were bringing us up to speed with where the storm is. This is the first thing we want to talk to you about. This is a building collapse, a wall collapse, really, in Chelsea, 92 8th Avenue and 4th Street. Is that right? 14th Street. I'm sorry, 14th, between 13th and 14th Street in Chelsea. There were some reports of people in there. We can't find anybody in there right now. This is a 4-story occupied building, commercial stores on the bottom, occupants on 6 apartments above, and firefighters obviously are there. You can see the rescue crane looking for anybody who might have been trapped inside.
Our desk now saying that all the residents have been safely evacuated. Remarkably, no reported injuries, so that is a wonderful thing. But you can see this dramatic photo of just the facade of this building practically gone.
The winds pounding that with the rain. We have gotten a lot of reports of structures damaged and trees down and power out, and you got some news about power outages.
Yeah, power outages. We've been talking about this, but Con Edison has now begun the process of shutting off the electrical service to the portion of Lower Manhattan, a move that Con Ed says will protect the company and customers and equipment, and hopefully allow for a quicker restoration of the power outages in the area. But the company has cut service to 2 areas in particular. The first is Frankfurt Street to North William Street to the west, Wall Street to the south, and to the East River. The second area is by Broadway to the west, Wall Street to the north, and the southern tip of Manhattan. The area includes about 6,500 customers.
Some of this is prophylactic. They are doing this to be preventative, but some of it we heard from Kimberly Richardson was on the phone with us as we heard popping going off. She thought they were transformers exploding. We don't have that confirmed, but that's what she said it sounded like. And we've gotten several emails from folks in Lower Manhattan saying it sounded like transformers popping and exploding as well to people who are watching.
We have Mike Clendenin from Con Ed on the phone with us. Mike, can you hear us? It's Liz Cho again and Bill Ritter.
Yes, hi Liz, hi Bill.
Hi, can you tell, what is the very latest right now?
Okay, as you just reported, we've got 2 areas in Lower Manhattan that we've had to shut power in order to protect equipment, our equipment and customer equipment, and that's, as you said, preventative. We've also got system-wide about 156,000 customers, Westchester and New York City combined, without power right now.
Any idea, Mike? We're in the middle of a storm. Any idea when that might be fixed?
Well, certainly as the storm passes and we assess damage, we can give you estimated restorations in the next day or so to try to get a handle on how long all of this is going to take us. We're certainly not done yet. There's going to be, we expect these outage numbers to climb. Yeah. For those underground areas that maybe you're referring to, we're hoping for maybe 3 to 4 days it would take to inspect the equipment, dry it out, clean it. The idea of shutting everything down is to make sure that it doesn't get severely damaged and that we'd have to replace it. So that's the purpose of that. So we're going to work as quickly as we can, and just keep monitoring the flooding. We hope we don't have to shut down more areas of the underground system, but that may happen.
So, Mike, we had crews down in the South Street Seaport. Kimberly Richards was reporting hearing a popping sound and smelling a kind of a burning metal. Is that tied to you guys?
It's hard to say. It could be us. It could also be building equipment, customer equipment. Burning up, and who knows? It's hard to say at this point. We've done our best to anticipate when we absolutely needed to take the action that we did, and our engineers are all down there, and we've had our street crews on the scene, on the ground, monitoring the water level, and you know, we made the call a little while ago to do this.
Mike, how much time has to pass when the storm goes by before you can really start repairing these
well, obviously it'll depend a lot on whenever the waters recede. You know, we can't do anything as long as everything down there is like a river. So and when the waters recede and our crews can get back in there, we can start going down into those vaults, vacuum out the water. It's going to be quite a process. Then we've got to inspect the equipment, clean it out, make sure it's safe to turn back on, and coordinate with the customers in their basements and their buildings and make sure we can do this safely.
So clearly a very big process.
A very big process. It's going to take everybody we've got and then some.
And we also heard from some building supers that who say, you know, when you were talking about your planned power outages down there, they have sump pumps in their basement, but of course they run on electricity. And then when you cut the electricity, they can't get those sump pumps going to bail out the water.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and let's face it, if we do nothing, and the power goes out anyway, you know, it was going to go out. This is the kind of action that we took because the chances are they were going to lose power anyway.
Right. No, I don't think no one's blaming you.
Yeah, no, I know.
There were parts of Coney Island as well that you were considering possibly also preemptively shutting down power to. Do you think that might happen still?
That's a possibility too. That's a Brighton Beach, Coney Island area for us and for customers, and that's another one that's very vulnerable, and that's another one we're keeping an eye on.
Wow. Well, Mike Clendenin, just a remarkable night, and it's not over yet. We know you're busy. We appreciate you taking time to come on and explain to us what happened. We heard those explosions as they were happening down in lower Manhattan, and we've gotten so many emails, Mike, from people who say, hey, I don't have power, or, you know, power's flickering on and off. But now we know that some of that was intentional. More than 6,500 customers in lower Manhattan intentionally shut off. About 156,000 on all of Con Ed's customers up in Westchester and New York City. Mike, good luck to you. We'll talk to you a little later tonight, I think.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right.
All right, thanks so much. Well, we certainly hope that the people, it is obviously in Zone A, that people have evacuated that area. We want to head right out to Kristen Thorne. She is in Islip. And Kristen, how are conditions out there right now?
Well, there's no rain left, but the wind, as you can see it's blowing me all over the place. West Islip now one of the thousands of neighborhoods across Long Island that now does not have power. But I do want to show you, very interesting, take a look at the moon. I just saw it, and I just wanted to show everyone, because look at that full moon. I know that there's we're talking about a lot going on here, but I just wanted to show everyone that because we've been talking about the full moon, which is creating all these tidal surges and everything that we're seeing, so just really need to take a look at that. I wanted you to see that at home. But we also want to show you the crazy amount of sparking and arcing that is going on in the skies. As we were driving around, hopefully we're going to show you some video now that we caught of that. You might notice in your neighborhood, we've been talking about, you hear booms, you hear things going off, you look up, and there it is in the sky. So we've been seeing that all over the place. So don't be alarmed at that. I mean, it is something you want to look out for, but that's what's happening, is that the transformers and things are actually lighting up. Here in West Islip, we've seen people in their homes with their flashlights just trying to get by. We're going to go check in with some of those people. More than 520,000 people now on Long Island without power. Of course, LIPA doesn't have any, sort of word right now of when they're going to get things turned back on. As you heard everyone saying, we just got to get through the storm first, and then we're going to have to deal with the damage and the cleanup and getting the power back on. Back to you guys.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kristen Thorne in Islip. We want to stay in Long Island and go a little bit north into Nassau County, Long Beach, Long Island. NJ Burkett is there, and last we saw you, NJ, you couldn't hear us. Can you hear us now? Maybe not.
Bill, and I'm not sure how long I'll be able to hear you, but we've just lost power now. Yeah,
Go ahead.
Right. Bill, I'm not sure how long I'll be able to hear you. Can you hear me now? Bill, I know there's a bit of a delay. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're on, NJ. If John can hear you, just say go and talk.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Yeah, there's a delay, I realize, and my phone just died again, and so I won't be able to hear you. I'm just going to redial the connection here real quick. But there are a few things I want to tell you about, because we've lost power here in the hotel. It just went dark about 10 minutes ago. And now I want you to see what the situation is outside the Alegria Hotel here at the end of National Boulevard in Long Beach. The entire boardwalk now pitch black. The only light you're getting now is the light from our camera. And I have to apologize about that. We're doing the best we can. The surf is now pouring under the boardwalk. It's been popping up the planks in the boardwalk. Through the planks, the water's popping up. And now, if you follow the camera out, you can see there's more and more water pouring into Long Beach. You can see now that the lights are out. There's no power in this part of the city. And I'm looking further down, and it does seem that there's power further down past the center of town. But no power here at all. The city manager told me that he had already contacted the National Guard, and the National Guard is now going to assist them here in Long Beach. He told me he's got at least 24 Humvees that are going to be brought into Long Beach to assist people who may need assistance here. The damage, any assessment of the situation in Long Beach in terms of damage, in terms of you know, God forbid anybody who's had a problem in the storm. We're going to come around now, and I've got to be careful because it's dark and we have no power in the hotel. We're going to come around, we're going to open up this door again so you get a look at the Atlantic Ocean and what we're seeing here and the power of the ocean. It's been relentless, Liz and Bill. The high tide has come and gone, but the water has not. It continues to pour in, continues to hammer the boardwalk. And the lifeguard station that was washed off its foundation is now easily a mile west down the boardwalk and has been battered to pieces. It essentially no longer exists. Again, power out throughout this area. I'm told that the hotel has now itself become an island. You can't get off the boardwalk. It would be very dangerous, actually, for us to leave the hotel, given what's happening with the planks in the boardwalk. At any moment, one of those planks could fly up, which is why we're doing the remote for you from inside the hotel. It's the safest place that we can be right now. It's a large fortified place. We're fine. We don't have power, but we'll be okay. We want to make sure that people understand that we are safe in this situation. I'm very concerned about the people who did stay, the people who chose not to leave the city, people who might not be in a situation as safe as ours is tonight. And I have to apologize to you again, guys. We've lost the communication with the control room. I've lost my communication with the anchors in the studio, and so I can't take any of your questions. I'm going to try to dial it up again, and hopefully we'll be able to come back and you guys can ask some more questions about what's going on here. But in the end, I mean, you can see what our hotel room is like. You know, we've been working out of here for the last several hours. We knew we'd lose power at one time or another. The main thing is to be able to keep the live shot on the air, to be able to keep the camera going, and to keep some vestige of light so that you guys can see what's going on. Let's take one more look at what's happening here in Long Beach. The boardwalk is now being battered. The damage, I can't even begin to imagine what's going on elsewhere in town, in areas that are even lower than where we are right now. The city manager told me about an hour ago, this is the absolute worst.
We're losing power, lost power with NJ Bergen.
Back to you.
Right. NJ, you're doing a great job. You can't hear us, but we can hear you to be sure. And NJ Bergen, along with photographer John Lyles, doing a great job. They are an island in that hotel. They cannot get anywhere else. Where are we? Kimberly Richardson is there. Let me just tell you, Kim, those explosions that you thought you heard in Transformers, they were Transformer explosions. And a lot of people in Lower Manhattan right now are without power, unintentionally and intentionally. Con Ed shutting down the power.
Mm-hmm. And Bill, we had no doubt that's what was going on. We just couldn't see it or really get out of the truck because of safety conditions. Let me show you what's going on right now. I'm on John Street. William Street is right there. Gold Street is behind me. Here are those buildings. Look at these buildings. Block after block, building after building is in the dark right now. People are still out, which is still fascinating. I don't quite understand. Some of the much larger buildings out here, like you see these lights over there, this is a big office building right there, so they probably have backup generators and some of their own power. But again, these are all residential buildings. Look at this one over here on the corner. That's another one that's in the dark. over here I want to show you something because this is the first opportunity. We've had to move several times throughout the day. This is the first opportunity we've been able to show you this right there. That's the Freedom Tower right there. Again, I know what's going on the, 57th Street with the cranes up there. We've been watching these cranes, of course, up there at the top, and they seem to be holding steady. Back here, I want to walk back around here. Again, this is John Street. There are NYPD officers all down there. South Street, that's underwater. We moved one block up, Front Street, underwater. I just saw an NYPD officer, and he said, listen, you guys can stay for now, but the water, the East River, is literally a block and a half behind me, and it's still coming up. So that's the situation out here.
And Kim, what's the most amount of water you saw down there in terms of depth on the streets?
You know what, Bill? It wasn't the depth so much because it was the speed at which it came up. I was at one point just maybe ankle, and then it came up to my calf. We couldn't stay there with all of our equipment. We had to pull back. But within 20 minutes, there was a big ladder, a ladder from one of the fire engines. It was up to the wheels, and you know how big those wheels are on those engines and those ladder companies. It was the speed that was unbelievable, and that's what everybody has been warning people living in these mandatory evacuation zones about all day. Some folks who didn't take it seriously. I am telling you firsthand, I was stunned at how quickly that water came over the seawater, came up, went over South Street, went a block up, and you know the rest, the transformers exploding and so forth. It was all happening at once, a bit chaotic, but that's why officials want you out of this area.
Kimberly, thank you. We're going to let you go ahead and work the area a little bit over there. We're going to head over to Lee Goldberg. And Lee, we just saw some dramatic pictures just right outside of our studio with a tree that was down, just went hurtling down Columbus Avenue.
So dangerous to be outside.
It really is. I mean, just look at what the camera's doing here. And we do have a couple of people that are trying to walk by. I mean, it's foolish to be outside. Yeah, right after Diana Williams tweeted that a tree was knocked over outside our studios, we looked out the window, it was flying down the street. It's down about 3 blocks now. So we got winds that are around 60 miles an hour here. These tide levels are going up so quickly that if you look at the evacuation zone map, you're seeing flooding that's more consistent than not only a Category 2, but even closer to a Category 3 type hurricane. When you look at storm surge that's 9 to 12 feet, which is what we're seeing already even leading into the high tide, that corresponds more to a Category 2 or Category 3 storm. So now the battery tide gauge 12.33 feet. The old record is 11.2 set back in 1821. So you're already talking about a full foot above that. Donna, that's 2 feet above Donna back in 1960. It's just incredible levels we're seeing here. These winds are howling in out of the east and northeast. There's more easterly winds now. It's continually drawing that water in. We're about an hour away from the high tide in the battery. There's Sandy right now, and what we've noticed is, even though it's not defined anymore as a hurricane, the Hurricane Center came out and said, okay, this is now post-tropical storm Sandy. Well, what does that mean? Well, now we're making the transition from hurricane to nor'easter. It's still a powerhouse storm. It actually is worse because it can hold itself together because it's using different dynamics to try to hold itself together using different sources in the atmosphere. So this is going to be with us here the worst probably through midnight to 2 a.m. We got to get on the western side here, I should say, excuse me, the eastern side of this circulation. Once we get there, and that's still a couple hundred miles away, then our winds can see a bit of a drop-off right there.
Up to 12.54.
12.54. I mean, every time we press the refresh button, it's going up. So it continues to rise, which is really bad news for our subway system. Now, you can see that not only the circulation center is right about there, and officially, by the way, it has not made landfall. That's another story with the Hurricane Center because it looked like it did a couple hours ago. But it's meandering very close to Cape May at this point, and a landfall is likely to be announced within the hour. But in the meantime, a new, larger center essentially formed after it moved and tightened up before landfall. And then you have this new resurgent area of rainfall and wind that, I mean, it really extends from where NJ is in Long Beach across the 5 boroughs into northern New Jersey. And then you got some very strong bands over Connecticut and into the Hudson Valley. Now, it looks like some of those are trying to break up a little bit. And that's good news because those were a mechanism to transfer some of the very strong winds from the upper atmosphere. So if we can see those break up a little bit more, and by the way, those thunderstorms, I mean, those showers right there, the downpours on the Cape, those are probably winds over 80, 85 miles an an hour. It's really been amazing to see the center down here and a couple hundred miles away, some of the strongest winds going into southern New England, and we're getting some of that too. And by the way, snow's breaking out in the Appalachians. So this is now called post-tropical storm Sandy. Winds down to 85 miles per hour and still moving off to the west-northwest at a good clip. We want to see this continue to move. Yeah, they're going to get probably a foot of snow down here in some of the highest elevations. Some of the cold air, believe it or not, will start to wrap in underneath and back around to us to get us back into the 50s. We actually were we spiked into the 60s as the storm came in, and that's just evidence of that it was more of a warm core tropical system. 12.75 feet. I mean, it's changing every minute. It's unbelievable. So if you're talking about an hour away from the high tide, I mean, are we going to be pushing 14 feet of a surge in lower Manhattan? I mean, lower Manhattan's going to be underwater in that case. Storm surge 6 to 12. We'll have to bump that up. 20 to 25 footers are stealing all our beaches right now and life-threatening coastal flooding and severe erosion. This is just some storm. We talked about it in that because it's unprecedented, because we haven't seen something like this happen, that the extremes were very likely, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Guys?
One of the things that was just frightening to me, we're going to go to Diana. We'll get back to you in a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about the rush of the storm surge. Diana Williams is on 9th Avenue?
9th Avenue heading towards Chelsea. Diana, how are the conditions on the roads right now?
Yeah, Liz and Bill, we're back out in Road Cam 7. We've been traveling out here on the streets. As Lee mentioned, I did tweet out that picture of that tree that had come down in front of the building. That's the only tree down that we've seen so far, but certainly a lot of rain coming down, a lot of wind out here on the road. There's still quite a bit of traffic out here. Not a lot, but there are plenty of yellow cabs out here, plenty of town cars. We are headed down to 8th and 14th because we have been told, and we have seen on pictures on Twitter, that the facade of a building has literally fallen off. It has literally come off of the building so that the apartments inside this brownstone are exposed. Now, we understand that there are no injuries at this point. The fire department is on the scene, and we believe that they have cordoned off the streets, that they've gotten everybody out of that building safely. But we're kind of anxious to see what it looks like, a building facade literally coming off. In terms of the streets, whoops, we're stopping here. Police are guiding us or directing us, or this gentleman is. Not sure who he is. I think he's helping this police officer back up here and giving us some directions on what to do. Actually, no. I take a look. Actually, Hector, I don't know if you can see it. I'm looking over to the side here. We've got metal that is alongside this building that has come down. And that is what this police officer is trying to protect. I'm going to open this back window, and let's see if Hector can get a shot there. I'm not sure it's scaffolding that you're going to get a glimpse of here, guys. I think it's just it's plywood and metal that has come down on this building here. And again, we're along 9th Avenue, and we're at 20th Street, and this is what looks to be, and it may have been, you know what it looks like? This was set up to protect the outside of this building, to protect the windows, and the plywood and the metal framework that was set up there has been blown apart by the wind. And I think you're getting a good shot there from Hector, so you can see what's going on. And now I think, Hector, you got enough there? Okay. I think we're going to head on down. You guys still there in the studio?
Yeah, we're here.
Checking in. We're going to keep heading on down here to down 9th Avenue. We're seeing things as you're seeing, you know, we're showing you things as we're seeing things. And now very few cars, as you can see, out in front of us here. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
As you're heading right
Bill,
to where
go ahead.
Yeah, you're heading right to where the wall of that building collapsed. And when you get there, let us know, and we're gonna get right back to you. Okay?
Yeah, the pictures, the photo that we have seen, it was pretty dramatic. All right, Diana, thank you. We are going to head now to Westchester County.
Okay.
We're going to head now to Westchester County, and that's where Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis is. Marcus, how are the conditions there right now?
Well, Liz, the winds continue to be really intense. It has been like this for the last couple of hours. I'll apologize in advance. We're limited by our camera light here, so you can't really see behind me too much. But there are some white caps there. That is the Long Island Sound encroaching on Island Harbor. in around midnight that this area will flood again. It was under about 3 feet of water during the first high tide around noon this afternoon. Now, this area, it continues to be without power. The lights went out a couple hours ago. You can see a police car off there in the distance. That is blocking access to Orienta Avenue. Orienta Point, one of the most vulnerable areas here in Mamaroneck to the storm surge, has largely been evacuated. Some people said they were going to ride it out. However, most people did leave. Police have been going back and forth trying to get those people out. A little bit earlier, we were further down on Post Road at the site of the old lighthouse, and we showed you a tarp that was blowing in the wind. It was surrounded by scaffolding. We had to move from that because some of those planks started to come down. There's concern that the scaffolding might come down. The good thing here, the only advantageous thing is that is set back off of the Post Road a little bit. So there's no immediate danger to any houses in the area. However, that is a very tall structure that is having some trouble in this intense wind. That tarp was put up to protect it, protect the workers who are repointing the brick on the lighthouse during the winter months. But as you can see, the winds still continue to gust off the sound here. There is concern again that at high tide, the storm surge will push this water back up and it will create another flooding situation. There was about 3 feet of water here earlier this afternoon. It did recede a bit, but these winds continue to whip up. That's the latest here from Mamaroneck. We'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Marcus.
High tide not there in Westchester County, the Long Island Sound, until about midnight. So you got a long night ahead of the folks on the Long Island Sound.
We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, reset, and we're going to be back right at the top of the hour.
Stay with Channel 7 Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of Sandy. On air, on your computer at 7 Online, and on the WABC iPhone and iPad apps. Plus, send your pictures of the storm to @WeatherABC7.
Can you put a price on fuel efficiency? Extra space? Can you put a price on safety? Nissan did. And it's less than Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V. Now lease the fuel-efficient Nissan Rogue for just $199. Visit ChooseNissan.com. Test drive at your Tri-State Nissan dealer today. Hurry in. This offer won't last.
Genuine Italian lacquer.
This is not just any old bedroom.
Nobody does lacquer like Italian designers.
Nobody, but nobody does value like Bob.
Italian lacquer queen bedroom, only $9.99 complete.
Shop around. You'll be lucky to find one at twice the price elsewhere, usually without a chest.
At my Bob's, if you don't need the chest, no problem.
Only $7.99 for genuine Italian